Hello and welcome to Smartling. This video will guide you through the first steps of working in our platform as a translation resource manager. To get started, please check your email inbox for an invitation from Smartling. Please click on the activation link to confirm your account and to set up a password. Select your notification preferences as well as your location and language pair. Once you click Register, you're all set up. Your account is now confirmed and you can log into the Smartling dashboard at any time directly from your browser at dashboard.smartling.com. You might want to bookmark this URL if you would like to proactively check your dashboard. Smartling uses two-step verification to keep your account secure. This means that after entering your login credentials, you will be asked to submit an additional verification code, which will be sent to your email address. Simply copy the verification code from the email, enter it on the login page, and click Submit. You are now authenticated and logged in. Once you are logged in, we would recommend adjusting the notification settings to your preferences. This ensures that you will receive an email from Smartling whenever a task requires your attention. To do so, please access the notification settings from the drop-down menu next to your name. Most importantly, to allow Smartling to notify you about tasks that require your attention, please make sure that the notifications for your account are enabled. You can then select the exact notifications that you would like to receive. For alerts about new translation work, you can choose whether you prefer to be notified in real time or if you would like to receive a daily digest instead. Once you have adjusted the global notification preferences, you can then navigate to the Project tab. Projects are what we call your customers' translation environments in Smartling. For example, your customer may have a project for their marketing collateral and a different project for the translation of legal documents. So here you can further tweak the notifications that you will receive for each of your customers' projects. Once your notification preferences are all set, let's go back to the home screen by clicking on the Smartling logo. From the Projects drop-down, you can access each of your customers' projects. As we have seen before, projects are translation environments for certain content types. In our example, our client has set up a project for their marketing assets, a separate project for their legal documents, a project for the translation of their website, etc. The individual translation tasks that your team will be working on are called jobs in Smartling. We will soon take a closer look at this jobs dashboard, which displays all jobs for your team across all customer projects. For now, let's click into one of the available projects. This takes you to the project summary page, where you can get an overview of the latest activity in this project. From the Strings tab, you can access the translatable content in this project, which is automatically broken down into smaller units called strings. A range of filtering options on the left-hand side allows you to locate specific strings, so you can then take action on them. From the top navigation bar, you can access further resources which will allow you to manage your customer's translation project as well as your team. From the Team Hub, you can manage your team of translators in Smartling. Smartling is a collaborative platform, so you can create a Smartling user account for all linguists who will be working on your client's translations at no cost for you. Simply click into any project that you have access to. From the Team Hub, please click into the Users page. Here you can manage the Smartling accounts of your team members. To create a new linguist account, please click Add User. In Smartling, the user role for a translator or editor is called Translation Resource. Once you have entered and confirmed your linguist's email address, you then need to grant them access to one or more workflow steps. In Smartling, a workflow is a set of steps that the content needs to pass through in order to be considered completed and fully translated. For example, there could be a translation step, an editing step, and then a step for the customer's internal review. Your client will grant you access to one or more of these workflow steps and can configure them based on your requirements. To determine which step your new team member should work on, simply click Add Assignment. Then select their language pair. The next drop-down menu lists out all of the workflows that you have access to. Please select the relevant one and then specify one or more steps that your new linguist should work on. Once you click Save Changes, the linguist will now receive an invitation email from Smartling, and they can complete their account setup. Of course, you can give your linguists access to multiple workflows or workflow steps. Your client has the option to grant you custom permissions to access or edit their linguistic assets. For example, your client may authorize you to make edits to their translation memory or to their glossary. Any linguistic assets that you have been given access to are available in a dedicated tab within the relevant customer project. For now, let's go back to the home screen by clicking on the Smartling logo. Your home screen shows the Jobs dashboard, which lists out all of the active translation and editing tasks for your team across all of your customers' projects. On the left-hand side, you can find several filtering and search options. For example, you can filter for high-priority jobs or jobs pertaining to a specific customer account. As a translation resource manager, you can either work on a job yourself or assign it to other team members. So the most important view will be the Require Assignment tab. Here you can find all jobs that need to be assigned to one of your linguists. You can see the name of each translation job as well as the project that it belongs to, and your customer's name. We would recommend also checking the little icons underneath the job name to see if any attachments or descriptions have been provided for further context. Next, you can see the number of target languages. This column can be expanded to display the actual languages that are needed for each job, as well as a progress bar for each individual language. You can check the word count for each language and workflow step, as well as the total word count for the entire job. To get a more detailed estimate of the word count, please click on the ellipsis menu on the right-hand side and select Fuzzy Estimate. This is where you can see the breakdown of each language by fuzzy matched here, as well as the total count of weighted words. You can download this estimate in a CSV format for further processing. To know when a job will need to be delivered, please refer to the due date column. Here you can see the overall job due date. This is the final deadline when all of the necessary workflow steps will need to be completed for a job, including any review steps that the customer might carry out after your team have delivered their work. To make sure that the overall job due date can be met, many customers will set up a specific task due date for your team. We would recommend clicking on the gear icon to check for any task due dates that might need to be taken into consideration. If there is a task due date set up for your team, please consider this as your deadline. For example, if the task due date for your translators is set to November 7th, and the task due date for your editors is set to November 10th, the reviewers who will check the translations on the customer side will have 5 extra days to hit the overall job due date of November 15th. If there is no task due date listed here, your team can simply work towards the overall job due date. If your linguists work across multiple workflow steps, you can even set up some task due dates yourself. So each linguist will know their individual deadline for their specific step. Your linguists will see these task due dates in a very prominent position in their Smartling dashboard. All dates and times are shown in your local browser time zone. To select which linguist should work on a job, please click Assign. You can now select your preferred translator from the drop-down menu. As a translation resource manager, you can assign the job to yourself or to another linguist who is part of your team. At the same time, you can also pre-select the linguists who should work on any subsequent steps. In our example, we are assigning the job to a translator, and we can determine at the same time which editor should proofread the translations once the translator will submit their work. Once you click Save, this job is now available for the selected linguist, who will be notified automatically via email. When a job has been fully assigned to your linguists, it is removed from the Require Assignment tab and shows up under All Jobs instead. Here you can see all active jobs that are currently open and being worked on by your team. You can also check the other tabs in your jobs dashboard to monitor the progress and to ensure that all jobs will be delivered on time. Jobs are displayed in the At Risk tab. If the task due date for a workflow step that your team is assigned to was missed. Since the task due date wasn't met, these jobs are now at risk of missing the overall job due date as well. Jobs are considered as due soon if the overall job due date is coming up in the next 48 hours. The Late Jobs tab allows you to check and follow up on any jobs that have not been fully completed, even though the job due date has already passed. If your team works on an editing or review step, the Upcoming tab shows jobs which are currently still being translated and will soon become available for your editors. You can come in here to proactively check how many words will soon come your way for editing or review and when they will be due. Sometimes a question about the text to translate may prevent your team from submitting their jobs on time. This is why you can find a separate tab for open issues in your jobs dashboard, where you can check any jobs that have unresolved issues. The Issues feature in Smartling allows your team to submit questions about the text to translate directly to your client without having to leave the Smartling platform. We call this type of question a source issue. Similarly, your customer or any reviewers can also provide direct feedback by rejecting a translation and opening a translation issue. The Open Issues tab allows you to see jobs with both source issues and translation issues. Simply click on the red flag symbol. You can now see the original issue, as well as any comments and answers that may have been provided. You can also proactively leave a comment if you would like to share some input. Any new comments will trigger an automated email notification to the linguist who is working on the translation, so they will be alerted to new responses. Similarly, if your email notifications are enabled, you will also be notified about any updates to issues that you actively commented on. As a translation resource manager, you can also translate or proofread a job yourself. To do so, please click View Details. Then navigate to the workflow step and language that you would like to work on. From the ellipsis menu, please select the option Open in CAT tool to access the translation interface. This will open a new browser window for the Smartling CAT tool. The CAT tool, or Computer Assisted Translation tool, has been specifically designed to make the translation process easier and more efficient. When you log in for the first time, you will be asked to confirm your preferred keyboard shortcut profile. Keyboard shortcuts allow you to perform certain actions, like saving translations, more quickly by simply pressing a combination of buttons on your keyboard. You can either select the keyboard shortcut profile from a CAT tool you might already be familiar with, or if Smartling is your first CAT tool, simply select the Smartling profile. Next, you will be asked to confirm your CAT tool preferences. If you are using a CAT tool for the first time, we would recommend simply confirming the default options by hitting Save. If you would like to customize the cat tool behavior at a later point, you can access your preferences at any time from the Settings menu. Of course, you can find further information about all available settings in our Help Center. You are now ready to start translating. There are 3 main panels in the Smartling cat tool. The context panel for visual context, the translation panel, and a panel on the right-hand side for additional resources and information. If you are translating for a specific customer project for the first time, we would recommend reading the style guide to familiarize yourself with the tone of voice that should be used. You can access the style guide at any time under Additional Details. You can now start entering a first translation. The content to translate is automatically split up into smaller translation units that we call strings. You will need to enter a translation for each of these strings. Simply click into the translation panel and start typing. As you are entering your translations, you can check the context panel to see a preview of the localized file or web page. This visual context can help you get a better understanding of the source text and the environment where the translations will appear. The context window can be resized and adjusted to your preferences. Once you are happy with your translation, you will need to save it. To save a translation, you can either click the checkmark symbol or use your keyboard shortcut. This translation is now saved, and you can move on to the next string. If you made a mistake and need to make a correction, you can of course go back and edit a saved string. Please save the new translation again once you are happy with it. Similarly, if you are working as an editor and want to make changes to an existing translation, you can simply click into the relevant string, make the necessary corrections, and then save the new translation. If no changes are needed, you can simply save the existing translation as is. Once you have saved a translation for each string in this job, you will automatically be prompted to submit your work. Alternatively, you can also manually click the Submit button from the top navigation. Submitting means that the translations will be sent to the next step in the workflow and they will be removed from your workspace. This is an essential step to let your customer know that your work is finished. We would recommend using the default option to submit only translations which have previously been saved and are good to go. You will receive a success message, and the lock symbol will indicate that these strings have been submitted and have left your workflow step. So to recap, please save each translation as you go along. At the end of a job, when you want to sign off on your translations, please click Submit. All submitted strings will count towards your words count report. To learn more about the Smartling CAT tool and all available resources and assets, please feel free to visit our Help Center. If you have been asked by your client to take care of desktop publishing to provide them with a fully formatted, localized file, you will need to download the translated files for the relevant job. You can do so by clicking on the ellipsis menu and selecting the option Download Files. Please note that many clients use job attachments to provide their source files and design material. So you may also want to check the job attachments. The finished and fully formatted localized files can then also be uploaded as a job attachment. Once the localized files have been attached, the strings for the relevant language can then be submitted. Once translations have been submitted and are fully published in Smartling, they can only be amended or rejected if your client has given you access to do so. From the Projects drop-down, please click into the relevant project and navigate to the Strings view. You are now able to see all strings in this project across all workflow steps that you have access to. To see only strings that are completed and published in Smartling, please use the status filter. Of course, you can also apply any other filters to find the translations that you would like to amend. If your client has enabled you to reject published translations, simply select the relevant strings and choose the option Reject Translation from the Actions menu. You have the option to open a translation issue to explain what should be corrected. Once you click Reject, the selected strings are now sent back to a previous step in the workflow so they can be corrected by a linguist. Alternatively, if you would like to amend any translations yourself, you can simply open the relevant string in the CAT tool from the ellipsis menu. You can now make any necessary changes and save the updated translation. Smartling also offers robust reporting to give you valuable insights into your team's workload and translation quality. To check your reports, please click into one of the available projects from the Projects drop-down. From the Reports menu, you can now access all available reports. The Word Counts report shows how many total words and weighted words were submitted by your team within a given time range. This report lists out the word count of each job that your team worked on by fuzzy matched here. You can download it in a CSV format for further processing and filtering, so it can be used as a basis for your invoices. If you would like to see the queries and comments across all jobs, you can access the full issues report from your Reports tab. Here you can check for both resolved and unresolved issues. You might want to run this report on a regular basis to check for feedback about the translation quality or to follow up on any open questions. The String Changes report gives you insight into any changes and edits that were made to the translations submitted by your team. This report allows you and your team to learn about your client's preferences and tailor your translations accordingly over time. For even more detailed feedback about the quality of the translations delivered by your team and any potential errors, you can check the Linguistic Quality Assurance Errors and Arbitration report. Linguistic Quality Assurance, or LQA, is a review process where translation errors are recorded in an objective manner based on a defined schema. If your client carries out linguistic quality assurance, you can use this report to view all errors that were recorded for the translations submitted by your team. You can also use this report to dispute and arbitrate errors, which means that you can leave a comment to explain why a certain translation was chosen. If you need more information about the Smartling platform and any of its features, we would recommend taking a look at our Help Center, where you can find valuable information to help you get started. Of course, the Smartling team is also here to help if you have any questions. You can reach our support team directly from the Help tab by clicking Contact Support. Thank you very much for watching and for your time today.